Welcome back to Whiteboard Wednesday. I'm one of your co-hosts, Mike Cromwell.
I'm Brian DeVault.
We're opening up a new series today, talking about a topic that is super hot. It's grown exponentially in terms of a risk to a business, and we're talking about cybersecurity, threats. What's a good cyber posture for business? So why don't you walk us through the categories that you put into what you classify as a good cyber posture and why they're in there?
And they all represent maybe a little bit different approach and maybe a little bit different of a business decision maker involved in each one. But on the front of the house, back of the house, you've got your administrative type tasks. You're going to have end user associated things that you're going to want to do, training, assessment, those types of things. You're going to want a mobile policy because mobile devices are part of everyone's infrastructure today. Whether that's just as checking email or remotely accessing data or entering data into CRM through a sales application. Same thing with compute. So this is your desktops, laptops, servers, everything that's going to be in that category. And then you've got cloud and on-prem. This is more focused around application architecture and security. How do we put the right things in place so that we have the desired level of security? Same thing when it comes to contractors. So how do you deal with contractors within your organization? Whether those are vendors that are providing software as a service for you, someone you've brought in to do some custom development work, maybe a website creator, something like that. And then network. So this is where you traditionally hear about cybersecurity solutions being applied, is kind of at that layer. And then I've added a category for discussion. So just as important as all of the rest of these items, it's important that we've got executive sponsorship, or everybody in the boardroom understands what risks are associated with each category.
Well, what percentage of businesses that you see, if this on a scale of 1 to 10 represents a 10, that you've got all these dialed in, where do you think businesses fall on average today?
Probably somewhere between 0 and 1.
Really?
If each one of these line items represented a point up to 100 line items, then most businesses, or you could pick and choose, have 2 or 3 of these items knocked down and none of the rest.
Wow. That's pretty scary.
It is.
Which of these areas represents the biggest risk to a business for attackers to get into your environment?
You might be surprised by this because I think a lot of traditional IT people would say it's here, but it's not. It's here. End users. End users introduce 90% of the risks into IT environment through phishing, scams, social engineering, through social media, all types of exploits that generate from end user error, end user education.
And what about these areas?
So the cloud is obviously, it's not even considered an emerging technology anymore, but it's certainly an area where you want to put some focus around, because architecting solutions in cloud is not the same as architecting solutions traditionally in on-prem. So you can unintentionally create vulnerabilities while you're deploying cloud infrastructure that are different than what you see in on-prem. With on-prem, you put your firewall in place, everything behind it you think is nice and secure. With the cloud, there's so many different threat vectors that you expose whenever you bring up infrastructure there.
There's no shortage of documentation in terms of the exponential growth in attacks here since
recently, yeah.
Since COVID, right?
Right.
How much of that's driven from the users now in mass working remote, which then introduces more mobility solutions, more cloud solutions potentially at the edge? Is that the driver behind this, or are there other influencers that are driving that exponential growth of cybersecurity attacks here?
Yeah, that certainly contributes a lot. I think it's also the hacker's ability to create revenue opportunities out of data, right? And so as the world becomes more electronic, like digital transformation, for instance, hospitals putting their records online and opening up portals to customers. That's just a hole now that somebody could go attack, right? Or somebody could potentially attack. Same thing with any type of business that has PII or personally identifiable information that's stored within their systems. We're developing software to help us speed up our ability to do business, but at the same time, you're developing insecurities in software design and abilities for hackers to infiltrate.
Let's say one of these businesses where on a scale of 1 to 10, you're a less than a 5. what are the chances that you're going to have a business impacting breach this year?
Very high. Very high. I'd
That's
say
scary.
90% or better.
So in this series coming up, we're going to be diving deeper into each of these.
Right.
And talking about what are some things, measures you can be taking as a business owner, a CIO. The bigger you are and the more higher profile you are, the more you're at risk of an attack. Those companies typically have CISOs, certainly have all the tools, and they're going to be rated much higher on the scale. But if you're a smaller business, maybe you don't have a CISO, maybe you don't have a CIO. So what we're going to be doing is drilling down into some of these categories, and you might be leaning on a managed security service provider, MSSP, in which case it's our goal to really go deeper into these topics and educate those that are watching on what are the types of things you ought to be looking for. What does good look like? Because you and I both like to start with the end in mind. What's our goal? What are we trying to achieve?
Sure.
And if you're a business, would you
How do you
say this is your end game?
Yeah, I mean, at some point,
On
it's
the cyber
got to
front?
be your goal. Yeah. So, and even if you get 90% of the way there or 95, you've got to have the framework to be successful. And I think this is certainly a good representation of that.
Excellent. Well, we teed it up what we're going to be talking about the next few weeks on Whiteboard Wednesday. So I hope you tune in. We certainly, it's our goal to give a lot of good golden nuggets, takeaways for those that are either managing the IT environment or the partners who are helping clients manage those environments. So stay tuned for more. Thanks for tuning in.